We can hire 3 junior techs for your salary, the plant manager smirked across the table. Nothing personal, just cost cutting. My name is Ray Alvarez, 58 years old, senior maintenance chief at Hawkline Plastics. I'd worked here for 21 years, kept the machines humming, built the safety redundancies, rewired half the automation with my own hands. Now I sat across from Glenn, the new operations VP, 6 months in, Ivy League kid in steel-toed boots for show. Beside him, Paula from HR slid a folder forward. 2 months severance, Ray, plus unused PTOI, nodded. That all? Glenn blinked. No concerns? No questions? I shrugged. Seems clear enough. They didn't get it. I wasn't calm. I was just done. We'd appreciate your help transitioning the new hires, Glenn added. Consulting for a few weeks, maybe? I'll think about it, I said, knowing I wouldn't. I boxed up 21 years in under 10 minutes. My guys, the ones I trained, avoided eye contact. They were scared. They should be. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed. Luis, one of the techs I'd hired, texted, Ray, the crew's freaking out. I didn't reply. At home, I sat on the porch, overlooking the empty field behind my house. My wife Maria handed me a beer. So what now? I shrugged. Something'll turn up. What Glenn didn't know? The wiring diagrams? The code patches in the programmable logic controllers? I made them. The automation? The shutdown protocols? Only I understood the patchwork holding it together, because corporate never approved my request for proper documentation. I started back when it was called Frost Plastics. Just 1 line, 2 machines, and a crew of 12. The owner, Mitch Frost, brought me in from a closing plant across the state. We're growing, he said. Need a guy who can keep us running. So I did. I kept Hawkline alive through expansion, new lines, broken machines, and tight deadlines. When Mitch retired, his son sold to a private equity firm. They rebranded it as Hawkline. Same machines, same patchwork. But the suits came marching in. First red flag? They killed my request for apprentice training. Said we'd cross-train later. Then came Glenn. New VP, new lingo. Modernize the floor, he said. Standardize systems. He hired 3 fresh techs. Kids, smart maybe. But they'd never done a shutdown restart during a storm. Never worked a jammed mold press at 2 a.m. with steam in their face. I showed them what I could, but they didn't understand. 2 weeks later, Glenn stopped by. Quarterly check-in tomorrow, he said casually. I should have seen it coming. 2 days after I left, the north line jammed. Then the packaging line's sensor array went dark. Then the injection units wouldn't start. I was sipping coffee when Glenn left the first voicemail. Hey Ray, quick consult? The techs are having trouble with some of your, fixes. I deleted it. 3 more calls came that afternoon. Then a text from Luis. Production's down. Glenn's losing it. Next morning, Paula called. Hi Ray, we'd like to bring you in as a paid consultant. 4-hour minimum, $300 an hour. I took a slow sip. I'll think about it. Then hung up. Maria placed a hand on my back. You okay? I nodded. They're learning what I'm worth. That week, I got an email from Davenport Polytech, a competitor across town. Their head of maintenance, Chuck, wrote, We've heard about the shakeup at Hawkline. You interested in talking? I met Chuck at a diner. We need someone who's done more than follow manuals, he said. We need a builder. He offered me maintenance director, 20% more salary, full benefits. I said yes. Meanwhile, Hawkline was crumbling. Luis told me, the line's still down. Management brought in outside consultants. They can't make sense of anything. By week's end, Glenn called again. Ray, please, we're willing to offer $500 an hour. We need you. I looked at the grease-stained toolbox by the door. Sorry, Glenn, I said. I've got plans. And I hung up. Calls didn't stop. Even Mitch Frost's son called me. Said the client from Grant Plastics, who accounted for 30% of Hawkline's revenue, was pulling out. The machines aren't reliable anymore, they said. They want to move production. Then Luis showed up at Davenport one lunch hour, carrying his work boots in a duffel. I quit, he said. Half the old team had left. The outside consultants were recommending a full rebuild, 6 months of downtime. Luis lowered his voice. They found emails. Glenn planned your firing 6 months before it happened. Told corporate he could replace you with modern tools. I wasn't shocked. I was focused. Chuck let me bring Luis on. We began rebuilding the Davenport system from scratch, but right this time. Proper schematics, proper shutdown plans, proper backups. Then Glenn called again. Ray, our biggest client's gone. The board wants you back. Full salary, signing bonus. I let him finish, then said, It's not about money. You made your decision. Now you're living it. Is this revenge? Glenn asked. No, I said. This is what happens when you treat experience like an expense. 2 weeks later, Chuck pulled me aside. Ray, we're thinking about acquiring Hawkline. Their equipment's salvageable. We'd need someone to lead the integration. You want me to fix the mess they made? Only if you're willing. I paused, then nodded. But we do it my way. Full documentation, no shortcuts, no patch jobs. Chuck smiled. That's exactly what we want. Hawkline was bought for a quarter of its former valuation. I walked the floor for the first time in months, now as integration director. The new name on the walls read, Davenport Integrated Manufacturing. Some old faces looked away. Some looked relieved. Glenn was gone. Luis walked beside me. You ready? He asked. I nodded. We're not just rebuilding machines. We're rebuilding how things are done. Over the next months, we rebuilt the system right, trained every tech, mapped every circuit, even brought on some of the smarter juniors from Hawkline, the ones who wanted to learn. We didn't gloat, we just worked. 1 year later, we became the largest plastic supplier in the state. No breakdowns, no hidden flaws, just solid, documented, sustainable work. On my last day in integration, Chuck shook my hand. You've changed how we run this place. I smiled. I just did what I should have done 10 years ago, and now it'll last. As I left the floor, Luis jogged to catch up. You really leaving this time? Yep. New role. Training division. I wasn't chasing titles anymore. Just training the next generation to do it right. Not with quick fixes, not with hacks, with pride. They thought they could replace me with cheaper hands. What they learned was that I hadn't built a job. I'd built a system, and that kind of work doesn't go quietly.